At its core, this innovation is about exploiting the thing that viruses do best: DNA hijacking. See, viruses are a continual head-scratcher for us because they're not technically alive. They do contain genetic material, either DNA or RNA, depending on what kind of virus we're talking about, but they can't replicate on their own. They have to inject their genetic material into a living cell and get that cell to replicate their genetic material for them. They're kind of like microscopic pirates. And while that makes them dangerous when it comes to disease, it can actually also be really helpful when it comes to bioengineering. Scientists can make a batch of viruses that latch onto cobalt oxide, or another batch that adheres to manganese oxide. That's the beautiful thing about genetic modification in relatively simple organisms. It's kind of just cut and paste. You could do this for tons of elements on the periodic table, but if the particular materials I just mentioned sound familiar, it's because we use them in some batteries. Now, the extra cool thing about this technique is not only that these viruses can be engineered to get metal to glom onto them, but also those metal-coated viruses can then start to stick to each other. And this forms what are called nanowires. That's metal-coated virus nanowires, which can then be used in battery electrodes. Back in 2009, the MIT team was able to make a lithium-ion battery using this viral assembly technique, and the battery worked. It powered an LED light. The team is working on using these microbial factories to make lithium-oxygen batteries, also called lithium-air batteries. That's literally a kind of battery where oxygen is what spurs the chemical reaction that makes the battery work. But maybe the most exciting thing about this viral battery production process is just how clean it could be. Manufacturing electrodes the old-fashioned way can result in toxic byproducts and requires very high temperatures, whereas all that's needed here is genetically engineered viruses, water, and the metal, which granted does still come with its own set of issues around mining, etc. And lithium-oxygen batteries themselves have their own set of limitations. They're currently highly reactive. You have to remove impurities from the oxygen before you feed it to the battery, and they still have relatively low charging efficiency. But to continue pursuing this exciting battery production technique for all kinds of batteries, the MIT team is now focusing on getting their viruses in order, literally having them grow in more ordered 3D structures as opposed to random ones. So all of this technology is still very much in the research and development phase, but with techniques like viral-mediated electrode assembly, maybe we're closer to seeing a virus-powered car on the road than any of us would have thought before this video.